All right, so I've got my colors. I might want just one little liver spot more of that gray. And to match it, just use the dropper tool now. And maybe I want just a little bit more of a shadow color in the eye sockets. And remember, I can steal it from this file that I brought in. Maybe that dark purple. Or something else. Yeah, that dark purple. Just to give them a little bit more depth. But this isn't a painting exercise, this isn't a coloring exercise, this is a logo exercise. So whatever we do, we want to make sure it's effective that way. With any of these paths, I can move them around, I can stretch them, I can use the large selection tool on them, warp them, manipulate them so they're fitting behind the way I want. Like colored pieces of paper behind carefully done outlines. Okay. I'm going to fill this one in with that same purple. Oh no, maybe with the gray. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I like that. Now, I got to resist the urge to really get in there and just keep messing with it, because this isn't a t-shirt design or a graphic. We'll be doing those next. So even if I can do things that I think look really cool, I need to resist that urge at this moment. And this white is maybe a little overpowering, so I can select multiples and then change their color as well to something more subtle. And now, just because that looks kind of dead comparatively, haha, nice pun, I'm going to take a duplicate of this, copy it, paste it, and I will move this on top now. So I got to create a new layer. And this is what's going to be called a color hold layer, because it's going to go on top of the black, just on the bow tie. And I'll redraw it to give that bow tie just a little bit of pizzazz and depth. I like the color versions of logos, but ultimately they're not as effective as the black and white versions because they're not as versatile. Okay. So now I can turn off my color reference. I've got this. How does it look without that? It looks pretty good, but the red, pretty snazzy. So maybe I want that. What can I do with it? Well, it's centered with the middle line, but maybe I don't want it that way. Maybe I want to push it over a little bit. Make it more visually centered. Looks very Dairy Queen-like. I can shrink it a little bit more. Now that looks weird. I can give it an outline. Maybe this is an appropriate time for a stroke. Give it a white outline that's pretty thick. And you won't see it on the artboard because the artboard's white, but it looks like that. And if I want to combine these together so it all treats it equally, I simply select all those layers, those two halves, hold down Shift, and I do the Pathfinder, and I'm going to add them together instead of excluding them. And that will give it all the white stroke. So So now, I guess the last thing I can show you is the fill of that. If I don't love just the flat white, if I want to make it a little bit more dynamic in my color version, I can take that background fill and I can put a gradient over it. Come on. Oh, it did a gradient on my stroke. That's actually kind of cool. But if I want to do the gradient over the red, how do I do that? There's a few ways. I might make a duplicate of it, copy it, paste it in place, fill it with a gradient, and then take that transparency down on that gradient. Just subtle. And I can change the angle of it as well. You know, at 45 degrees, say. Or at negative 45 degrees. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I might make the stroke transparency pretty severe as well. But you see what the stroke's doing at the bottom there? The problem with strokes. Nothing I can do about that because it's a stroke. So I'm just going to turn the stroke off. Okay, so that's my color logo for now. I can choose to have the red on or off. I can take the whole thing and take its transparency down a little bit if I want. This is just running in the background. Yeah, that works. All right, so to save it, first I save my assignment 6 EPS file because this has all the color and the black and white in it now, right? All in one file. The reason I labeled that color is so it's easy to turn it on and off. I even have a drumstick he can munch on. But I'm turning on all my color options. I can decide whether I want that red or white background. And I think I'm going to save my EPS without that turned on, but it will still remember all the features. And now I'm going to file save as my EPS, and I'm going to call this my color sketch, or my color zombie, or something, to the desktop. And now how do I make it print ready? I can close these now. I've got the AI saved. I don't need the reference anymore. Don't need my playground anymore. So how do I make it so I can turn it in and make it print quality? I go to Photoshop. I open up a new Photoshop file. That is 8 inches wide by 10 inches tall at 350 pixels per inch. Label it so I can recognize it. RGB color, white background. And now I pull in my color EPS right there. And I have two options, so I'm going to bring them both in. Let me place this one. I think that looks pretty good with the red. So hit return. Now I'll bring the other one in without the red. Maybe this one I'll make a little bit bigger to command the space within the mat. And I decide which one I want to print, either that or that. But if I want to make this one bigger, I just hit Command T, and it will raster up beautifully to match whatever resolution I give. Ooh. That'd be a good GIF animation for the website. Yummy. All right. Now, I simply save it as a PSD file for me with these different options. Then I save it flattened. I don't know, which one do I want to print? I guess this one. Layer, flatten. Save it as a TIFF. That is print ready, so PR. TIFF with LZW turned on. The print ready instructions are in the Dropbox file for you. And then last, save it as a JPEG to upload. We upload our sketch, we upload our color version, we upload our black and white version. And then we're done.